right. Hey, sports fans, PBZ Sports Chaos. And we get the Olympics going on full swing right now, full circle with the USA basketball playing Serbia. Serbia's looking pretty strong. But we also have all 32 NFL teams practicing preseason, right? And we're going to talk this week about the NFC South. This is probably this might be the most competitive division, and not because they're great teams, but just they're so close. I think in talent at the end of the day, right? Do you agree?
Um, I'm not there yet. I think
Okay.
Atlanta is clearly the better of the four teams in this division. I don't think it's even close, honestly.
I just saw something. I think it was CBS Sports says 8-9, 8-9 Falcons and Saints. So we'll see. All right, let's walk
Really?
through. Let's
Yeah.
start with those Falcons. So
I
they signed Kirk Cousins in the offseason. That was a nice lift. But then they go out and they draft Michael Penix in the first round. Why? I don't know. They could have grabbed another stud player with that pick, but they took Penix and they moved up to get him, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that's a little bit of a shock. They do have a great offense, though. Beyond Robinson, Drake London, hopefully Kyle Pitts breaks out this year. So, with Kirk Cousins, Penix is not ready to start. These guys, you believe, are the team to beat in the South, right?
yeah, and I think out of every division right now, they have the best odds of winning the division. I think they're like neg 300 or something like that. You got to put up 300 to make 100 for them to win the division because if you look at every other division, there's another team that could potentially compete with them. You know what I mean? I think Kansas City is probably the only other team in the NFL that doesn't have that competition in their division. But every other division to me, when you got like Dallas and you got a Philly and you got Green Bay and you got Detroit and you got, these other divisions where there's another team that can compete. I think in this division, it's Atlanta and it's nobody else. That's the way I'm looking at it. Although I don't have Atlanta winning a ton of games, I have them winning 10 games, but I don't see anyone else getting over 500. So that's why I have them pretty much taking this division for all the reasons you just mentioned. And you can't forget too the new coaching system. Arthur Smith was a deterrent to that offense being put into gear, and now that they have that coaching change along with Cousins, I think this team is the team to beat in the South. 10-7 for me is
I
what I
I
have.
I got them at what do I have them? I got them with 7 loss. So I got them 10-7 too. But actually, no, hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 10-7. The wild card though is Minnesota, right? So I do have them losing Minnesota, but they could be 11-6 if they win that Minnesota game. I will say this though. We both got them at 10-7. I'm still they have the worst defense of the four teams in this division, in my opinion. Best offense, probably worst defense though. So that's going to be that's going to be the bugaboo for them, in my opinion.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, let's go with the team that probably will come in last, the Carolina Panthers. Big year,
Yeah.
Bryce Young. Does he make the step up? He did not look like the overall #1 pick last year. They went out and they got some receivers from the first round pick, Xavier Leggett. They drafted. They went out and got Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, right? And they have over reliable Adam Thielen. Defense is really solid. I think this defense is better than Atlanta's defense for sure. They went out and got Xavier Woods. I believe this is a safety from Miami last year. Was that where Woods came from?
Not
I forget where
sure.
he
I
came
don't
from.
think so.
Yeah. So I think they're gonna be a decent team, but probably last in the division. And because I say this is a competitive division, I see them 6-11.
So interesting enough, I have them also at 6-11.
Oh,
Um, but
okay.
but here's the difference. Well, first of all, I don't know did you mention Jonathan Brooks too, who they drafted? So
Forgot about him. Yeah, I forgot about
they
him. He's
probably
gonna be.
took the best running back in the draft, I think. They got so um, which they'll need.
Yeah.
They'll need a good ground game so they can balance, the offense. It's really going to be is Bryce. Did we see the real Bryce Young last year, or was Bryce Young limited with his weapons he had around him with the coaching and everything else? Because that's another team that shifted coaches. You got a whole new system probably coming in for him. But here's the difference with my 6-11, Russ. I have them tied for second in the division with that 6-11 record.
No, this is gonna get interesting. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's go. Let's go down south, way down south to New Orleans. The Saints. Saints got out and picked out an offensive lineman. I can't even say it. Talizia Fioga, I think is how you pronounce that. You know, one of the top offensive linemen in the draft. They went in the second round. They got Kool-Aid McKinstry, the cornerback from Alabama, who I think is going to have a great year for a pretty decent defense. And the heir apparent, I predict this, the heir apparent quarterback was picked in the fourth round. Spencer
Yep,
Rattler will start in
Spencer
2
Rattler.
years. So having said
I
that,
think he might start this year.
I not a lot of people fans of Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr's reliable. I think he's like Jacoby Brissett, but a little better. And he doesn't lose you games. He may not win you games, but he doesn't lose you games. So I would love to see Spencer start. I just don't know if we'll be ready for it. But this team, BB, I think this defense is still one of the best defenses in the game. They still got Cam Jordan. They still got Willie Gay. They still got Honey Badger. They got Demario Davis. They're going to be rock solid on defense. The question for them will be, can Alvin Kamara stay healthy for a whole year? That's going to be the big $1 million question for that team, right?
Right. And Kendrick Miller right now, they're saying, that he might not be 100% and he might have some issues going into the season. I think his hammy, I think he blew his hammy in training camp. So that was supposed to be, if Kamara wasn't Kamara, Kendrick Miller was supposed to step up. So I'm not even sure there. But at the end of the day, I still have this team at, oh, by the way, when we were talking about Carolina at 6-11, both of us, Vegas has them at 5.5 wins. So you and I are just right there with the under over. Vegas has this team at 7.5 wins. I also have them at 6-11, tied with Carolina for second place in that division. I just don't see enough offensively, and they have this tough schedule. I mean, they open up at home against Carolina, but after that, which by the way, I still have them losing, they have to go at Dallas, then they got Philly, then they have to go at Atlanta, and then they got to play Kansas City at home. Like those are 4 losses right there. And if you don't win that first game against Carolina, this team's starting 0-5. So
I get them winning the Carolina. I get them splitting all the division games. The only team that sweeps is Atlanta sweeps Carolina, but I get them splitting the division. You're right. Cowboys, KC, Philly, Chargers. They got to go to Green Bay late in the year. That's probably a loss for a team that plays indoors, having to go to Green Bay. And I think they lose the Browns as well, but I got them 8-9. I don't have them 6-11. I got them 8-9.
all right. By the way, I do have them splitting Carolina. I just have them winning each other's home field. So I got Carolina beating them in New Orleans, and I got New Orleans beating them up in Carolina. So I still have them splitting. I just have just a little twist on that a little bit. But that 0-5 start or 1-4 start, it's just going to kind of take the wind out of their sails. I hope they can win 8. I mean, you got them at 8. That would be over the 7.5. I got this team under the 7.5 at 6.
All right. Let's go over to the Florida side of the South. Tampa. Baker Mayfield came off his career year last year. He really found his footing playing for the Bucs. Best year ever. They went out and they got a center. They lost Ryan, I forget his last name, who retired. But they went out and got Graham Barton from Duke. They also went out and got a good edge player from Cam Breswell, I believe is how you say it, from Alabama. And they got Jalen McMillan, wide receiver from Washington, who I liked a lot. They got him in the 3rd round. So this team's going to end. They've already got great wide receivers, in my opinion. Mike Evans is one of the best in the league. Chris Godwin's rock solid. They got Rashad White, who came on strong last year, right? This team is going to be decent again on offense, but their defense is their strength. They still got Vita Bea. They still got Logan Hall, Levante David, Antonio Winfield. The defense is going to keep them in games. What do you see them doing?
Yeah, I mean, all the things that you said really blow up my theory on where I think this team's going to finish. And that's what I was looking at in Vegas when I first checked this over under win line. It was 8.5. And I said, this is not a 9-8 team. This is not a over 500 team in my book. And then I just went on Hard Rock Bet to see what their line was, and it was 7.5. So money must be coming in on the under for this team. And I think 7.5 is even pushing it. That means they would have to go 8-9. I don't see this as an 8-9 team. I actually have them at 4-13. I do not think this Tampa team.
Personal foul on PB, irrational thinking. They're going to be 8-9. They're going to be 8-9.
Last. I got to finish last.
Maybe 7-10, and the swing game will be the Chargers game if they go 7-10, right? I see them splitting the division, like I said earlier, losing to the Lions, losing to Philly, losing to the Ravens. That's going to be a tough one. Losing to KC, 49ers, and Cowboys. They got probably the hardest schedule in the division.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I have them at 4-13.
But
Their
those are their
schedule's
losses.
brutal.
That's their losses. That's it. Other than that, the rest of
Yeah.
the games are very winnable for them. So that's why I say 8-9 is their potential, with the Chargers being the swing game, and that's at LA. That's why I say that's a swing game for them. So I got them
Right.
8-9.
And they're playing a first place schedule, right? So that makes it
Yep.
even harder.
Yep.
You know.
But if Baker continues to make the strides he did last year, this team is going to be better than you think. Do I think they overtake Atlanta this year? No, I'm with you on Atlanta, but Atlanta's not going to be so far ahead of them, in my opinion. It's a
All
game
right.
difference. So, all right, we will do the AFC South next. That will be an interesting conversation. Some improved teams there. Can't wait to do that one. Talk to you soon, PB.
All right. Sounds good.